nabudol talaga tayo. And yung pagkabudol natin, it's not because we are bobo. Personally, I don't really care about the track record. What I care are the platforms presented to me. Yan yung sinasabi ko in 2022. And I found out really, of all the presidentiables in 2022, it was only BBM who promised us to continue the build program of Tatay Digong. Now, Ping Lacson, Leni Robredo, Isko Moreno, and Manny Pacquiao, they did not promise to continue the build program. It was BBM who promised us that he will continue what has Tatay Digong started in 2016. So why is the build program so significant for me, ha? Ganito yon. Ako kasi, I am originally from Bukidnon, in a far-flung area in Bukidnon, and minsan lang kami naaabutan ng mga tulong, Joey. Minsan lang kami, minsan lang umaabot sa amin yung may mga tumutulong man doon, pero minimal ba? Tapos, yung access, yung transportation, alam mo yung rough road? Sobrang maalikabok ang daan sa amin, guys. Tapos, when Tatay Digong became the president in 2016, di ba, he implemented the build program. And ang barangay namin ay isa sa mga naka-receive ng, yung mga kalsada, bridges. And ako, college ako at that time, kapag umuwi ako, easy na lang for me to go home. Hindi na, unlike before na, ang hirap umuwi kasi nga maalikabok, and at the same time, pangit yung mga road. Tapos, if nasa Cagayan de Oro ka din, may shortcut na to Bukidnon via Talakag. Kung alam niyo yung location na yan, guys, that's an NPA infested area. So, grabe yun, grabe ang patayan dyan, grabe ang kidnapping. But then again, because of the build program, nagiging accessible siya for public because maayos na yung daan. So marami ng mga sasakyan na dumadaan doon. And because it's now accessible to the citizens, may progress na and naging safe na siya because it's no longer the safe haven of the NPAs. Takot na sila, may expose sila, pwede silang patayan doon, pwede silang pulbusin, ganyan. So ganyan ka-importante ang build program. That's one of the factors na I considered when I voted for BBM. Now, secondly, ayaw ko talaga sa ayuda. Hindi ka ako mayaman. Alam mo yan, Joey, I shared my life story to you. Hindi ako mayaman, nag-aral ako ng mabuti, tapos nagtrabaho ako ng maayos, legitimate jobs, legal jobs, yan yon, ginagawa ko sa buhay. And even mahirap kami, to be honest with you guys, in college, hindi ako qualified sa 4Ps. Ay, hindi ako nagpa-qualified sa 4Ps, even if I am qualified na mag-4Ps. Kasi nga, aside from the fact na may scholarship program ako noon, na-realize ko ba na I'm not bad-mouthing 4Ps recipients. What I'm telling is, by principle, yung principle ko, ayaw ko talaga na parang tumatanggap lang ako ng tulong without me doing anything. Kasi ang nangyayari, yung scholarship program ko is I have to maintain grades. And because, naghirap ako, because nagsakripisyo ako, yung grades ko na mini-maintain because of the scholarship, it translated to award. Kaya graduate ako in college with flying colors. So without the scholarship, maybe, ganyan. So, ang sa 4Ps, even if wala kang na-maintain na grade, as long as you would want to continue,
you would still get the...
Yes, you would still get. So, at sa college nga, because writer na ako sa college, nagsusulat ako, marami akong bashers. Kasi nagsusulat talaga ako about sa negative effects ng 4Ps, ganyan. So yun, ganyan ako. Yan ako. So ayaw ko talaga ng mga politiko na ang platform nila ay ayuda. Which is, yan yung number one platform ni Leni Robredo. Sa first 100 days ni Leni Robredo, ito yung plan niya. Ito na yung platform. We're talking about the platform na. Sa first 100 days ni Leni Robredo, she promised to provide 216 billion for ayuda. And as a person who doesn't really like ayuda, because gusto ko talaga na magtrabaho ka para magkapera ka, ganyan, that's one of the factors na why I didn't vote for Leni Robredo, okay? Now also at that time, ang binibentang narratives ng mga kakampings ay yung Angat Buhay program. I wrote so many articles of the Angat Buhay program, and if I am not mistaken but from 2016 up until 2022, there were only 600,000 people na na-help out ng Angat Buhay program. So when I studied the Angat Buhay program, I also discovered that the role pala of the OVP under Leni Robredo's leadership at that time is not really to, spearhead with the project and everything. What they are doing is they lobby. So for example, ako, a private entity, halimbawa ikaw, private entity, magpapaano ka sa Angat Buhay program, kayo ang mag-implement sa program, pero mabibigyan ng credit ang si Leni Robredo because of the partnership. So sabi ko, hindi ito.
Work.
Okay, kaya nga, sabi ko nga, although the intention is, okay, tama naman because they just wanna help, but in terms of leadership, nasa national office ka eh.
It doesn't, kumbaga parang, it did not proper attribute credit dun sa totoong nagtrabaho.
Yes. Correct. Kasi pwede namang sabihin na halimbawa, House of Hope Foundation, ito yung mga projects na implemented. So dapat, the credit should be given to the House of Hope. Kasi ang ginagawa nga, naglalabi lang yung Office of the Vice President under Leni Robredo's time at the time. So sabi ko, walang naibenta si Leni Robredo na maayos na platform sa akin in 2022. And so I decided not to vote for Leni Robredo. Kaya nga, ang nagiging option ko at that time ay si BBM. Now kayo guys, kung hindi nyo nabasa, ni-repost ko yung mga projects and programs na plano ni BBM para sa Pilipinas. At kung basahin nyo yung platforms na yun, ang ganda.
Correct.
It's really a continuation of the legacy that was started by Tatay Digong in 2016, lalong-lalo na sa Build program. Now ganito, right after the elections, we gave him a chance. Sige, kasi nagsisimula pa, baka anong tawag dyan, Joey? Nangangapa pa.
Kasi you're still looking for people, right dun sa cabinet mo.
Tama. Kasi at that time, dyan pumapasok yung mga nilalabi na, for example, magiging Secretary of the Department of Justice, mga ganyan. So sabi ko, okay, for the first 6 months, pagbigyan natin si BBM. Okay? Sabi ko, okay, ganyan. And at that time, ginawa niyang DepEd Secretary si VP Sara.
And it sounds good.
Yeah, so for me, sabi ko, very good because aside from being the Vice President, because under the Constitution talaga, technically, parang spare tire lang talaga ang Vice President. Walang discussion about the functions of the Vice President. But para bang pag mamatay na ang Presidente, ang susunod ay ang Vice President. Parang ganyan lang sa Constitution. In layman's explanation, ganyan siya. Pero, may tradition ang Office of the Vice President from Cory's time. Ang ginagawa nila is nagbibigay sila ng medical assistance, burial assistance, and any form of
mga
humanitarian works, ganyan. Kinontinue ng Office of the Vice President under VP Sara's leadership. Now, si VP Sara din, ginawa siyang Vice Co-Chairperson of the National Task Force to End Local Communists, yung NTF-ELCAC, okay? So kung titingnan ninyo, tatlo na ang naging posisyon ni VP Sara. Vice President, DepEd Secretary, and Vice Co-Chairperson of the NTF-ELCAC. When she became the DepEd Secretary, she was receiving reports from DepEd. And one of the reports na na-receive niya ay first, the NPA recruitment happening in national high schools, even in the private schools. Second, gangsterism issue that remains unresolved. Child abuse issues that remain unresolved. Online exploitation, yung sa child abuse yun. And gangsterism, recruitment, child abuse, yung mga online exploitation, etc. Drug use. So, yan yung mga
learners.
Among the learners. So, yan yung mga nakikita ni VP Sara. Now, in order to fairly or effectively investigate these problems, the office needs confidential fund. Hindi siya pwede sa intelligence fund because that is given to military or intel agencies like, say for example, armed forces, AFP, PNP. So for a civilian agency like the Office of the Vice President, what she needs is confidential funds to do this. Kaya she asked the confidential.
To assist the law enforcement group.
Hindi nga na-resolve yung problem.
Hindi nga na-resolve yung problem. Ibig sabihin, you need to specially target the vulnerable doon sa sector na hawak niya. At since hawak niya yung education, ang biktima ng by the way, there is a study in United Nations by the UN Research Kinemilor that sa buong Southeast Asia, #1 ang Philippines sa kung saan ang mga kabataan natin ay biktima ng online sexual exploitation. I think also in the world, mataas rin yung ano natin, they're really flagging us na parang, hoy Philippines, ano gagawin nyo dito? Yung mga online, yung children pornography, mga Pilipino yung mga nasa nagagamit, yung mga nagsho-show, yung mga naggagawa ng mga den na nagpe-perform ang mga bata, nagpe-perform ng mga sexual acts, pagkatapos ang mga ano nila, mga pedophile abroad, ganyan-ganyan. It's really, really disturbing. And ang problem doon is that these kids are victimized by their own relatives.
That's correct.
So this kind of thing, you cannot just leave it to normal law enforcement. Kasi nga, syempre, ang normal law enforcement, ang tingin niyan, yung mga crimes, all are of general approach.
Correct.
Na parang, bakit namin aanuhin yan kasama yung magulang? Diba? But this kind of crimes na committed against the learners, ang mga nambibiktima sa kanila, kamag-anak, relatives. Because Inday Sara is the DepEd Secretary, of course, they have to think of a way. How are you going to help those children complain and may paabot nila sa kinauukulan na sila ay biktima ng mga pang-aabuso.
Okay.
So, yan na, dyan na pumapasok na meron silang sistema among the teachers, the children would be able to, tell their teachers na, ma'am, kasi ganito, and then the teachers would also have proper instruction dahil nag-establish ng hotline si Inday about it, di ba? Yung mga abuses sa mga estudyante and things like that. So, it would be facilitated in such a way na hindi agad i-dismiss ng ordinaryong police or ng law enforcement yung mga problema nitong mga batang to. But, of course, yung mga haters, they do not think about that. Hindi nila wala ka rin common sense. Alam mo yun, bakit si Inday ang kumikeme dyan? Ganyan-ganyan.
Tapos, in addition, ang Davao City kasi, we have a Kian Gabriel hotline. Ginawa yan siya, di ba kasi naging issue yung si Kian de Los Santos, mga abuse, ganyan-ganyan. So si VP, because we have 911, para siyang, sa mga taga Davao dyan, correct me if I'm wrong, pero this is what I remember, na yung Kian Gabriel hotline is parang attached siya sa 911 ng Davao City na kung saan, for example, kung inabuse ka, pwede mo tawagan yan and there will be investigators, there will be people who will help you out.
So
there will be
psychiatrists. May mga social workers going to assist. Kasi iba ang approach lalo na kapag ang biktima ng abuse ay bata.
So yan yung ginawa ni VP. Now, because national scale na to, kailangan niyang i-leverage yung project na yan sa DepEd. Kaya sa DepEd, nagkaroon ng Telesafe Learning Center. And in order, and aside from that, the DepEd also had Learners' Rights Protection Office. Doon nire-report, doon iniimbestigahan ang mga child abuse cases, doon halos lahat ganyan. So, in order to effectively implement that project, you need surveillance. And so, that's the reason why the confidential fund was asked. Now, if you would ask, that's in DepEd. Why did she ask in the office of the Vice President? Okay, this is how I see it because I was studying the projects and programs of the OVP in 2022 up until now in 2025. Ganito yung nakita ko. There was a floating information that VP Sara would put into the national stage yung Peace 911 initiative of Davao City. Yung Peace 911 initiative, that's the reason why naging insurgency free ang Davao. Yung Paquibato district, paano niya na-convert lahat ng NPA doon na bumalik sa gobyerno, nabigyan niya ng pangkabuhayan. Yan sana yung i-implement. And again, to quote, to effectively and efficiently implement that project, you need proper surveillance para hindi masayang yung pera. That is why from August of 2022 to December of 2022, ang total amount na kinakailangan ni VP Sara to implement that, to successfully approach the program is 125 million. Kaya nag-ask ng 125 million lang. Now, balikan natin kasi yung main topic natin is about Bongbong Marcos. Bakit nagka-problema? Okay na sana yun binigyan ng chance si BBM in 2022 until December of 2022 sa leadership niya because nga nangangapa pa, bago pa lang, 'di ba? Bago 6 months pa lang ganyan. Pero we were shocked na by the end of December and early of January, the Marcos administration was already attacking VP Sara of her confidential fund that is supposed to be confidential, that is not meant to be discussed publicly. Doon namin nakikita as supporters na tinatrador si VP Sara. It was the Office of the President who that released the money in December of 2022. So ngayon, na-shock kami because after the meeting of Romualdez and the Makabayan Bloc, yun sila Franz Castro, na-shock na lang kami na during the plenary, they are now attacking VP Sara. Even Stella Kimbo, the person who used to defend the budget of VP Sara, she turned her back already and now telling the Filipino people na she's very disappointed because the money was spent for 11 days lang. So doon namin nakikita that there is already something wrong with Bongbong Marcos administration because the confidential fund, the sensationalized issue used against VP Sara is supposed or is asked and utilized to supposedly topple down the enemies of the state. Number one, the NPA, the terrorists, the criminals. And to also protect the learners in the Department of Education. Yan yun. Now, nakikita namin, or why are the pro-admin people now attacking VP Sara with the confidential fund? Because again, it's a trap. They knew exactly that VP Sara cannot publicly discuss the confidential fund because that would compromise national security. So they attack VP Sara on that matter. So doon namin nakita, okay, nabudol tayo. Mali yung binuhoto natin in 2022. Hindi natin in-expect, di ba? Ang ganda ng platform I started my live telling you all the platforms, all the, plans, the concrete plans of BBM. But sa nakikita namin, as time passes by, walang projects na ginagawa, kundi atake kay VP Sara.